Welcome back. Now we're going to be doing lesson 1.0, in which here we're going to be going through vocabulary drills. In this lesson, I want you guys to know that I advise you greatly if you're wanting to go through and progress through the lessons and stuff as you go from basic into more complex. I get a little book. These things are like 90 cents, and this is that little book we have in the middle. I'm giving you kind of an example in this middle here of like what a basic little book looks like. It's actually like literally almost like this size, okay? Maybe a little bigger and stuff. If I actually was to compare it and stuff, I would say it's maybe 40% smaller. So it's a little bit bigger. It's probably like, from here to here, size wise, okay? But get these little books. They're really cheap, 99 cents. You can get them at Walmart and stuff. And write down your vocabulary that you get in the first list of vocabulary words. And write all the vocabulary words together. Write all your pronouns together. Write all your nouns together. Write all your verbs together. And do this because as we progress along to each new lesson, you can literally take that and say lesson 1 vocabulary, write it on top. When you finish writing all those vocabulary words, the next one you're going to do is lesson 2, and then of course the same thing we're going to do here, give you a whole list of new vocabulary words, whole list of new definitions, and you can utilize this thing beautifully because if you take this book with you, and as we do, because I'm going to be forcing you as you grow into this to start creating sentences by yourself. And you're going to take the words that you have, to take the words you've learned, and you're going to start creating your own sentences with them. And it's going to give you an idea of knowing how to kind of start flipping words around and getting comfortable with it. Okay, and this is going to help you really see the fact that you can do this. It's not that difficult. It's not that hard. And I'm going to work through this step by step in here. So here in this one is the vocabulary drills. So what are the instructions here? Well, in this instruction here, we're going to review the vocabulary list and create a dictionary for yourself using the small booklet like the one I showed you below. Okay? All nouns in Hebrew, unless it's proper nouns, are indefinite. The only difference is in Hebrew we don't have an indefinite article a or an. So you can put that in your little thing for notes. Hey, listen, notes, we don't have a or an in Hebrew. They're not. They don't exist. The indefinite articles don't exist. And so therefore you can kind of start realizing for yourself when you translate how you're going to translate, so you can kind of visualize this in your head as you get better and better at translating. Okay, this is actually assumed in the language, as I said, in the grammar structure. This means if you say it or write it, we know it's indefinite. So if I write the word yeled, I know yeled is an indefinite noun. I don't have a yeled in Hebrew. A does not exist. Okay, so therefore, whenever we write the English, we use the quotations around the word a or an in order for us to remember this word does not exist in Hebrew, but is needed in English. And I really love doing this because it just helps you visualize the fact of, oh, okay, wait a second here. This word does not exist, so I know I'm just looking for what I'm looking for, which is what? What is the noun? That's it. What is the noun? If I have this noun, then I have the answer. And so therefore, I know that by doing so, all I have to do is just say, okay, I'm looking for the word father. What's the word father in Hebrew? Even though it says a father, I only need the word father because a does not exist in Hebrew. Okay? So in this lesson, we're going to be practicing translating each of the English words back into Hebrew. This is important. You're learning to write in Hebrew. And so you're going to have to learn to practice how to write in Hebrew by just looking at it, writing the best you can, and just making it match the vocabulary. I'm not going to repeat the vocabulary here. This is something you're going to have to do by making this booklet. And this is going to be good because all you have to do is look through your booklet and look up what's the word Avraham. What is the word Avraham? Take a sheet of paper and you're going to write down what Avraham looks like in Hebrew. What's the word stood in Hebrew? Now here, this is important. In this lesson that I'm going to be teaching you, we're going over vocabulary. Now I know that you're going to have the issues of both masculine and feminine, and therefore this is important. So what I did here to start out the thing is I said Adam here in Hebrew. You're probably going, what does that mean? I don't know what that means. Well, I'll tell you something here. Adam is the masculine name of Adam. So in this lesson, we're only going to focus on the male terms. So it's either the male names and the male verbs. Whereas in the next lesson, we're going to do the opposite. We're going to work on the female names and the female terms. And so therefore, we're going to separate and segregate what words we're going to be using so that we can get used to using what a masculine male looks like, the name, and the masculine verb form looks like, and the same thing with the female names and the female verbs. Okay? So here, this is just going to be basically an outline of what you're going to be doing. So you're going to be looking for all these nouns here that are listed in all the verbs, and you're going to go back to the worksheet, which you can have, that's going to be posted here on the website. You're going to go back to the worksheet, and the worksheet is going to be the thing you're going to utilize here on this website. And you can stare at it, you can write it down, and you're going to start looking at these things. And I'll give you an answer key, not here, but later in another section of the site, so that you can match and make sure that all your answers are correct. Here in this section, you're just going to work on the lessons, but in the thing that I'm going to actually make, which is going to be the answer key to lesson blah blah blah, I'm going to put it down there, and you're going to be able to see it. So as we start here, just look at the words you have in your book that you've written down. Start practicing writing what they are in Hebrew, and this gives you the ability to start getting familiar with the English equivalents of the Hebrew word. And so we're going to be saying here, the English word is Avraham, but the equivalent is writing Aleph, Bet, Resh, Hey, Mem, and therefore there's your name, Avraham. The next one you're going to have is like the word stood. We're going to put in the word stood. What is the word stood in Hebrew? It's the word amad. And so we're going to write down the word amad. You need to actually make sure you put all the vowels, all the dashes and the dots that you see in these actual words that are in the vocabulary list. You need to make sure all of these things exist, so therefore you can vowelize it correctly and you can write it correctly. Alright, we'll see you next time. If you have any questions and stuff, feel free to comment. I'll be looking forward to comments. I'll answer them as fast as I can, as soon as it's possible. But this will give you a headshot of just doing this section here of the vocab words. In the secondary section, which I'm going to bring down here, this here we're going to have is you're literally going to take and translate the vocabulary from Hebrew back into English. So here you're going to look at the word kara, and you're going to look up in your dictionary, and you're going to see, kara means called, and you're going to write down the word called in your own paper. And this is going to help you actually start looking at the Hebrew words and memorizing them and remembering what they are in English. And like I said, we're going to have an answer sheet, and the answer sheet's going to be done with the video, so you can go and correct yourself to make sure that everything that you did was done correctly and that all the answers you have are done right there. And then back here again, we're going to translate the vocabulary from English back into Hebrew, and so therefore I'm going to spend a lot of time trying to force you to look at the fact that you can do this of writing in Hebrew. You can learn how to read in Hebrew. You can learn how to conjugate sentences in Hebrew. And you're going to go back and forth between English and Hebrew, and you're going to be able to see how it's possible and how you can do it and how it's not as difficult. So we'll see you next time as you go on and to learn the lesson. And we will go and we will discuss more in the next lesson when I go to talk about the feminine nouns and the feminine verbs as we push forward in this thing. So enjoy, and we'll see you soon.